Rise from your grave.
Some video games are considered classic due to their innovative and fun gameplay, while others are due to the time period in video game history that they represent. Altered Beast fits into the latter of these two categories. Now that's not to say that Altered Beast is a bad game, however there are several drawbacks which stop it from being great. The premise of the game is a simple one. You take control of a centurion who's been raised from the dead by Zeus. Your goal is to rescue Zeus's daughter from the demon Neph. The gameplay is that of a standard side-scrolling beat-em-up. Simply go through the level, bash your ways through the hordes of enemies that are in your way. The game is broken up over 5 levels, and throughout each of these levels, the Centurion has the ability to capture power orbs. When 3 of these orbs are obtained, the Centurion can transform into one of 5 different beast forms. The biggest issue that I have with this game is that it was designed to be an arcade operator's dream. And by that, I mean you will get so many cheap hits while playing this game that it's going to force you to die and die over and over again, and you'll have to be pumping in more and more money into the arcade cabinet. This produces an extremely frustrating game experience. The worst offenders within this game are actually the jump-kicking unicorns that are found in the 5th level. If anyone can actually get through that level without getting hit, I applaud you. Regardless of the game's difficulty and other issues, Altered Beast still amassed itself quite a fan base, and because of this it was ported to many home systems. Let's take a look at a few of those ports now. Now don't go trying adjusting your televisions, there's nothing wrong with YouTube, folks. Here we have the ZX Spectrum version of Altered Beast. Unfortunately, not too many people in North America are familiar with the ZX Spectrum computer, so let me just tell you that the graphics experienced here in Altered Beast are actually fairly top tier for the platform. Very detailed and multicolored character sprites really make this title stand out from the rest of the Spectrum library. While the Beast transformation animations have been removed from this port, the rest of the game remains fairly faithful to the original arcade version. All 5 original levels are here, as well as the 5 Beast forms. While this port looks great and has a soundtrack loved by most Spectrum owners, the gameplay is unfortunately marred by extremely unresponsive controls and very poor hit detection. For gamers who thought the original arcade version was challenging, the Spectrum version will bring an entirely new level of difficulty for you. The game's extremely unresponsive controls requires you to have full memorization of everything that goes on the screen. The problem here is that when you hit the button to perform a kick or a punch, it gets performed a split second or so later than your exact button press. This is all made a lot more difficult by the way you actually perform your attacks in this port. Instead of simply pressing an action button causing your character to kick or punch, instead you must hold down the action button and press a specific direction to perform an action. For example, as a Centurion, if I wanted to kick, I have to hold down the action button and press forward. If I hold down the action button and press down, I'm going to perform a ducking punch. Due to the high level of difficulty of the game, even I personally haven't gotten past the 4th level. The game still retains a certain level of charm for me, which is why I keep returning to it. I would, however, have a very hard time recommending this port to someone not familiar with the Spectrum platform. Now let's take a look at another computer port on a system that's more widely known worldwide. The Commodore 64 made its way into many homes worldwide, so it should be absolutely no surprise that Altered Beast was ported to this platform. The graphics on this port are obviously improved over those of the ZX Spectrum. However, one thing that is definitely missing is the background soundtrack. There is no music to this port, however there are sound effects throughout the game. The graphics in this port very well represent those of the original arcade version. One problem that does exist is that there exists too many frames of animations occurring too slow during actions for your character. So for example, if I push a button that I want my character to kick, there goes multiple frames of animation which makes the action take longer than it should. This really makes timing your attacks very difficult throughout the game. Thankfully, the developers seem to have taken this into account partially by controlling the speed at which the enemies come at you. They give you enough time that if you're familiar with their movement patterns, you'll be able to attack and destroy the enemies that lie in your path. That means that this game, while it is beatable, will take a lot of time to master, as it, just with all of the other ports of this game, requires proper memorization of where each of the enemies are going to fall at various points in time. Like the Spectrum version, the Commodore 64 port of Altered Beast contains all 5 levels of the original arcade game, as well as all 5 original Beast forms. While this isn't the best port available for the game, I do recommend this port for any fan of Altered Beast. I believe that any fan would actually have a lot of fun playing this port, regardless of the fact that you require a high level of memorization to truly master this game. Now let's take a quick look at a port of Altered Beast which I don't believe many people are familiar with. Well, here it is, Altered Beast for the NES. Well, not exactly the NES, but the Nintendo Famicom. For those not familiar with the Famicom, the Nintendo Famicom is the Japanese version of what we know as the Nintendo NES in North America. This is a surprisingly good port that not only brings us the content of the original arcade version, but expands on it by giving us an extra 3 levels and 3 new beast forms. Unlike the other 2 ports that we took a look at, the Nintendo Famicom version of Altered Beast has very responsive controls. Everything happens exactly when you want them to happen. Unfortunately, there's still the time that you need to have memorization of when enemies are going to pop up. But luckily, to your advantage, there are some flaws in hit detection for your character that a lot of hits that do occur to your character don't actually get registered as damage. While that can definitely be seen as a flaw in the game by some gamers, I actually don't mind it as it minimizes the amount of memorization that's required in order to properly master the game. You can easily sit down, controller in hand, and play through the game without having a whole lot of experience in doing so. As mentioned before, this port contains 3 new levels. These levels are interspersed between the original 5 levels of the arcade game. Each of these 3 levels contain their own unique beast form. They are the lion, the phoenix, and yep, there's a shark. The underwater level that's been added to this port is easily the weakest link of the game. The level itself is extremely frustrating with enemies that can be very difficult to evade. And the shark character looks a lot more like a dolphin, and its special attacks are nothing special at all. This is a level that you'll just quickly want to breeze through and get to the rest of the game. The music in this game will be easily identifiable by all Altered Beast fans. It comes straight from the arcade. However, it has that unique 8-bit Nintendo charm that a lot of the old Nintendo NES and Famicom games had. Even with more accurate ports available, such as those on the Sega Genesis and PC Engine, and even the actual arcade version available on the Wii Virtual Console, and even in the Sonic Sega Genesis collection on the Xbox 360 and PS3, I find myself coming back to this port again and again. I've been playing this for I can't even tell you how many years now, and I'm still not bored of this game. I highly, highly recommend this port to any fan of the Altered Beast series. For all of you Altered Beast fans out there, hopefully I've shown you something a little new today, and for those of you not familiar with the series, hopefully I've piqued your interest enough to give it a try. If not one of these ports, at least go and try the original arcade version. It truly is a classic, it truly represents a very specific time in gaming history, and I promise you, you will not regret it. Take care guys, I'll see you later.